In a recent article for The Athletic, Arpen Basu outlined what might actually be a pretty big issue for Montreal next year, and that's the amount of young guys who are in Laval. We know it sounds very positive, but there might be some problems that come along with it. But on a positive note, Logan Mailloux has been getting insane praise from teammates and Habs staff. And finally, we got to talk a bit about Brock Caufield, Cole Caufield's brother, getting signed by the Leafs organization. So stick around for this edition of Habs Digest. Jesse, the first thing we want to get into here, in our first video back, sorry for the small hiatus, guys, I was moving. I'm now in Quebec City. New setup, new studio, everything looks great. So anyway, hopefully it's all good for this video. But Jesse, let's get right into this. Talking about some issues for Laval. They mentioned how Joshua Waugh is one of what could be 7, maybe 8 rookies to play for Laval next year. They could have 12 players who are 22 or younger. And Jared Davidson, of course, if he makes it, that'll be 8 rookies. But they say it makes for a delicate situation because the AHL is not an easy league for young players. We know they're very physical, lots of grizzled vets still trying to make their living down there. The youth in Laval have the Canadiens mildly concerned because no one really knows how it's going to go. Jesse, what are your thoughts on this? Do you really think this is a big issue? Because, we're all maybe most excited as ever for the Laval Rocket, but there are definitely some concerns here and there.
Well, we're going to be young and competitive, just like the Montreal Canadiens. And kind of the similarities between kind of the Habs and the Rockets kind of continue on from there, even coaching, allowing them to make mistakes. But it is true that they're going to be a really young team. That's for sure. And with that, there's definitely going to be some learning curves. But I feel like this is just part of it, right? You got so many skilled players. You need to just give them that opportunity. But definitely makes you happy that they did sign in a couple guys that have a little bit more experience at the AHL to kind of insulate them a little bit, right? Because when you're like a player in the AHL looking to make the NHL, like it's all about development, right? In the AHL. So having those vets there to kind of really look after them is going to be really important as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, it was mentioned in the article that some players like Joshua Waugh in the past went in and Bourque was there to really help him find his way. And with same positive things were said about Alex Belzile, but now they're both gone. Of course, Belzile just recently signed for a very good amount of money in New York, getting guaranteed over $1 million, which is life-changing money for a guy who was making $300,000 last year, right? And they have said they wanted to bring him back as a leadership role, but to make the salaries work in Laval, it just wouldn't work out. So, but at the same time, Jesse, like you said, these guys are going to have that competitive spirit, and I think that's probably going to prevail over everything else. Do you think that there's an aspect of like these young guys in this league, this tough, notoriously tough league for young guys trying to make their start? Do you think having that many young guys can really lead to some positive outcomes in the sense that these guys will grow together through this league, learn how to fight against tough opponents early on, and maybe take that skill set eventually, hopefully, to the Montreal Canadiens?
Well, it's really a balancing act because you want to give your young guys that opportunity to play. But, in the article, Arpen Basu was kind of mentioning that sometimes, if you have too many young guys and maybe you get into a little bit of a losing culture, obviously that isn't always the best for development either. So he was mentioning that pretty much the whole of the Habs development staff, Adam Nichols, going on from the sports science, etc., they envision going quite a bit from Laval to Montreal. They see a lot of these players playing for the Habs this year. And when you're kind of excited to watch the Laval Rockets play, like when you're excited to watch your AHL team play, like that you're doing something good in this case.
Yeah, that's for sure. And actually the staff, as you said in the article, they mentioned how like last year, right, we saw guys like Jesse Ullin and we saw someone like Alex Belzile, Raphael Harvey-Pinard, they came up with very little like issue, really. Like it was very smooth, the transition between the AHL and the NHL, and I think that's something that Montreal definitely wants to keep going, and the staff has said that that's very important to them. So hopefully the staff can stick around doing those things for these young guys that will eventually make the Habs. And speaking of that, Jesse, we got to talk about Logan Mailloux because we were just going to talk about the AHL and what this means for these guys' development, but then we stumbled upon what some players and staff were saying about Logan Mailloux. And I know we've sung his praises a million times, but to see what the staff say he wants to do, to see Logan Mailloux's drive to be better, and what his colleagues, I guess, his players are saying about him is insane. So let's take a look. So they say, we'll see what happens, but he, talking about Mailloux, is going to push for sure. That's his goal. He'd like to be in Montreal. But if it's Laval, there's nothing wrong with developing there either. And they asked his teammates, Owen Beck and Philip Méchard. Beck says he's a big, strong defenseman. He doesn't give pucks up easily. He's got a hell of a shot. That's something that he can weaponize from the point at any point in the game. Very solid defenseman, can play both ends of the ice. And Méchard said He's a big body, also has good hockey sense, and a really good shot. His shot is so good. We played against him in the playoffs. He was probably one of the best players on the ice. And in the Habs scrimmage, he was one of the best players on the ice too. Hearing this kind of stuff, just the amount of people talking about his good shot, especially the coaching staff and his teammates, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm more excited than ever, and I feel like I'm believing more and more that even with the huge lot of defensemen the Habs have, he might have a legit shot at making the team this year.
It's true. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a little bit sooner than we thought. Now, I definitely want us to take our time and not kind of rush too much because we're still in that kind of development window. But, I mean, he's going to be knocking at the door, right? If he's playing that well, I mean, the Habs aren't going to have any choice but to allow him to come up to the big squad. But, like, I could very much see a world where possibly he's coming in, you know, at least in the second half of the season, and then playing so well that it just makes him so hard to kind of demote him at that point in time, you know. But I definitely just want us to be patient, you know, with Mailloux, with everybody else. But, I mean, this guy's looking like a gamer, and he's really ready to play.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, too, he's a right-handed shot defenseman. Like, I know the Habs just drafted Reinbacher, who theoretically could play with Laval this year, but it's very likely he's just going to head back to the Swiss League. But being that right shot defenseman, especially one that provides that huge goal-scoring upside, something that the Habs have desperately needed at the point for the past number of years, I feel like his exact archetype is something that the Habs need very soon. I mean, I know they're probably not going to compete this year, but even if they are for a little bit, I feel like he slots in so perfectly. And do you think that there's any credence to that? You think that could even make it easier for him sometime earlier in the season, maybe if there's even just one injury?
I think so, just because of the way that we've actually kind of chosen our players and the way we've developed is we have such complementary defensive sort of pieces, right? Like already people are kind of drawing up Logan Mailloux with Kaiden Guhle. Just the fact that they kind of, you know, that really when you have a defenseman like Kaiden Guhle, it allows somebody like Mailloux to even concentrate more on his offense. It allows it to bring out even more. But the thing is, with Kaiden Guhle, it's not like this guy can't do anything in the offensive zone either, right? So it's not like he's just a defensive defenseman. So you're really starting to get in the best of both worlds. So I'm starting to really get excited, you know, at the thoughts of Mailloux with Guhle and then obviously Reinbacher with Hudson that we saw at camp this year as well.
Yeah, me too. It's a very exciting time to be a Habs fan, of course. All these prospects, a lot of positivity around the organization, and hopefully that'll continue. Final topic of today, kind of a funny one. Brock Caufield, Cole Caufield's older brother, signs with the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. They go out and say the Toronto Marlies announced today that the hockey club has signed forwards Jackson, Berezovsky, Brock Caufield, Neil Shea, Tate Singleton, and Tyler Weiss, and Nolan Dillingham to one-year contracts. They go on to mention that Brock Caufield, 24 years old, appeared in 172 games, a lot of games with the University of Wisconsin, which is also Cole's alma mater, 33 goals, 41 assists. You know, he played well with the Green Bay Gamblers before that. So Brock Caufield's an interesting player, Jesse. But I thought of this as soon as I saw this, right? The Habs really seem to like going for brothers or relatives, right? We saw all the Pitlicks. We've seen all the Xhekajs. How come they didn't jump on this Brock Caufield thing for the Laval Rocket?
I don't know. I'm kind of upset about it, you know, because, you know, the Leafs didn't have anything good to say about Cole Caufield when he first came in the league. So I don't know if they deserve one of the brothers right now. But, you know, it seems like more of an AHL sort of move right now. But it would be interesting, right, if somehow he kind of made his way to the NHL and seeing them kind of pair off against each other. So definitely be an interesting addition to the rivalry. Yeah,
well, what do you think about the Habs going out and grabbing Alex Nylander for some AHL depth to rub it right back in Leafs fans' faces?
I don't know how I feel about either of the Nylanders. With all the talent in the world, I just want to steer clear of what they got in Leafland right now. It just doesn't seem to be working too well. I just think it's you know, bad vibes. I definitely probably stay away from that one.
Yeah, fair enough. We got all good vibes here. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let us know if the new setup, new everything. I think I kind of imported everything back. So let us know if everything's good with a thumbs up or something in the comments section. If you stuck around to this point, we really appreciate you. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.